I own a cafe called Third Place, wedged between a laundromat and a forgotten bookstore. I started it with my wife 5 years ago. She left last year. The cafe stayed. I stayed. It was one of those gray afternoons where the rain makes everything feel slower. I was wiping down the counter, same as always. 3:42 p.m., I remember because I had just checked the clock when the door opened. She walked in, no umbrella, soaked through. Her coat clung to her hair dripped. But she didn't seem to care. Like she belonged in the rain. She glanced around once and headed straight for the window seat. Nobody ever sat there, it was drafty, close to the glass. She opened a sketchbook and started drawing. I dried my hands and walked over with a towel. I didn't even think about it. Just moved. "You okay?" I asked. She didn't look up, looking for warmth in the rain. "I've got a hot latte." "Warmth's close," I said. That's when she looked up. Her eyes were sharp, tired, and calm. No fear. No apology. "I'm Jack. Alice," she replied. I made her the latte anyway. "On the house." She thanked me. I didn't go back behind the counter. I stayed near her table. She didn't mind. We talked. At first, just basic stuff. Where she was from, nowhere, really. She traveled all the time. Cities, moments, faces all blurring into each other. She took photos, drew what she couldn't capture on camera. Said she didn't have a home, just motion. She told me sadness followed her. Not like a storm, more like a steady fog. She'd stopped fighting it. Used it instead. I didn't say much. Didn't need to. I hadn't met someone like her before. I hadn't met anyone new in a long time. Time slipped away. Maybe an hour. Maybe more. The rain kept falling. Then she looked at the clock, closed her sketchbook, stood up. "I'll be back tomorrow," she said. No reason. No promise. She left. I just stood there, watching the door, thinking about how still everything felt after she was gone. I have a wife. A routine. A life that usually makes sense. But in 1 hour, a stranger made all of that feel paused. And for the first time in years, I found myself wanting tomorrow to hurry up and get here. She came back the next day. Same time. Same rain. This time she brought an old camera with her, one of those bulky silver-bodied ones from the 70s. She sat by the same window, snapped a photo of the street, then took out her sketchbook again. I didn't wait long to walk over. "You're early," I said. She looked up, gave me a faint smile. "You remembered." I didn't know what to say to that, so I just asked if she wanted the same latte. She nodded. I made it exactly how I had the day before. No charge again. It felt right. That day we talked more. Not just about where she'd been, but what she'd left behind. She'd grown up in Michigan. Her mom painted. Her dad disappeared when she was 8. She talked like these facts didn't belong to her anymore. Like she had traded them in for something vaguer, lighter, easier to carry. When it slowed down in the cafe, I pulled a stool to the other side of her table. We shared silence between conversations. She sketched people passing by. Sometimes she asked me what they might be thinking, and I'd make up stories. She laughed. A real one, the kind that caught me off guard. I realized then that I hadn't heard laughter in this place in a long time. When the rain picked up again and customers thinned out, she turned the camera on me. "May I?" I nodded. She clicked the shutter. I didn't know why it felt like she had just taken something from me gently, without theft. Before she left, she placed a photo from her bag on the table. One she had taken elsewhere, blurry buildings, a girl with red hair standing in the middle of an empty street. "See you tomorrow," she said. And again, she was gone. I closed late that night. I stared at the photo for a long time, longer than I'd meant to. My wife hadn't called in a week. I didn't call her either. I wasn't sure if that mattered anymore. All I knew was I wanted to hear Alice laugh again. Alice came back. Again. And again. Day after day, like clockwork, though nothing about her felt routine. She always sat in the same spot. Sometimes with her sketchbook. Sometimes with her camera. Once with nothing at all but a cup of black coffee and a far-off stare that lasted half an hour. She didn't need to fill the air with words, and I found I liked that. She asked questions now, real ones. About me. About the cafe. About the life I had before she stepped into it. I told her bits and pieces. That I used to play guitar. That I hadn't picked it up in years. That my wife and I had grown apart slowly, like two lines that start close and just veer off. No drama, no betrayal, just distance. Alice didn't pry. She listened. Always with that focus, like she was sketching your words in her head. One afternoon, she asked me if I was happy. I said I didn't know. And I meant it. I started to notice changes in myself. I played music again. Just softly before opening hours with the blinds still down. I started reading books I had abandoned years ago. Poetry of all things. She had that effect. Like she reminded me there was more to life than managing invoices and espresso shots. One night after she left, I opened the drawer in my bedroom and found our wedding photo. My wife looked young, happy. So did I. But it felt like looking at strangers. I closed it without guilt. Just a strange kind of sadness. The next day, I told Alice about that moment. She nodded like she already knew. Like she'd been waiting for me to say it out loud. She didn't say much in response. Just, it's okay to let go of something before it breaks you. I didn't answer, but I heard her. It was a Tuesday. Clear skies. First day without rain in nearly 2 weeks. Sunlight poured through the front window, cutting sharp lines across the floor. Alice showed up later than usual. She looked different, hair up, dark circles under her eyes. No sketchbook, no camera. She sat down at the usual spot but didn't say anything. I brought her the latte without asking. She wrapped both hands around the cup like she was cold. After a long silence, she said, I almost left this morning, packed everything, got in the cab, then told him to turn around. I didn't ask why. She didn't offer. But something in her face made it clear. She was running from something, maybe even from me. And for a moment, I hated the idea of her not coming back. I leaned on the edge of the table and said, You don't owe this place anything, but I'm glad you're here. She looked up. Her eyes were glassy. That's the problem, she said. I think I do owe you something. Or I'm afraid I'm starting to. That day we didn't talk much. But we didn't need to. When she got up to leave, she paused at the door. You want to walk? She asked. I hesitated, then nodded. I locked the cafe behind us. We walked aimlessly. No destination. Through the park, across the bridge, past the shuttered cinema. She asked if I ever wanted to leave. Really leave. Not just the cafe. Everything. The town. My life. I said I didn't know. But I was starting to think about it. That was the first time I admitted it out loud. We stopped near the old train tracks. No trains had run there in years. She stepped onto the rail and tried to balance. I watched her arms stretch out, her coat fluttering like she might lift off. Then she said, If we met somewhere else, if you weren't married, do you think we'd be something real? I didn't know how to answer. I still don't. But what I did was step closer. I reached for her hand, and she let me. That touch, it wasn't dramatic. It wasn't wild. It was quiet and slow and final. Crossing. When we got back to the cafe, I didn't unlock the door right away. We stood there a moment, her hand still in mine. Then she let go and went home. The day after we walked, I waited. Not for her to show up, because by then, I knew she would, but for something else. A sign. A shift. Anything to tell me what I was doing wasn't wrong. Or maybe to confirm that it was. I don't know. Alice came in around 4. She looked tired again, but less distant. Like something had settled in her. She brought her camera but didn't take a single photo. Just sat there. I made her latte without a word. We didn't talk about what had happened by the tracks. The hand-holding. The question that still rang in my ears. We didn't need to. It was there, under the surface, humming between us like background music we both recognized but refused to name. Later that evening, after she left, I got a message from my wife. Just 3 words. Can we talk? I stared at the screen for a long time before answering. Tomorrow. The next morning, I opened the cafe early. Alice didn't come. I didn't expect her to. I met my wife at a diner a few blocks away. Neutral ground. She looked different. More tired than I remembered. Her smile was polite, small. We talked about logistics first. The house. The taxes. Who would take the dog? Though neither of us had been walking him lately. Then she said, Is there someone else? And I froze. Not because it was a trap. Not because I had a guilty conscience. But because I didn't know how to answer. There's someone I met, I said finally. Nothing happened, but something changed. In me. She nodded like that made sense. Like she already knew. We've been over for a long time, she said. I just didn't want to admit it. I didn't cry. She didn't either. It wasn't that kind of moment. It was quiet, clean, honest. After she left, I sat in the booth for another hour, staring out at the street, not seeing much. Then I went back to the cafe. Alice was there. She didn't ask where I'd been. She didn't mention my red eyes or the way I walked like something inside me had been rearranged. She just smiled, that soft kind of smile that made me feel seen. She pulled out her camera and aimed it at me again. "You sure you want this one?" I asked. "Yes," she said. "This is the one I've been waiting to take." She clicked the shutter. It felt like a beginning. The photo she took that day, it's still taped behind the counter. Just black and white, no filter, no posing. Me mid-step, walking toward her with a towel in my hand. I look older in it. Tired, maybe, but not lost. That was the difference. In the days that followed, things settled into something new. Alice started helping out around the cafe. Not officially. She never asked. She just started wiping tables, rearranging the little jars of sugar, talking to customers in that quiet, disarming way she had. People noticed. One regular, Maria, leaned in and whispered, "She's got a good energy." I nodded but didn't say more. I didn't know what to call what we had. It wasn't dating. It wasn't casual. It felt bigger, older, like we'd known each other in some other life and were only now remembering. One night, we stayed late after closing. No music. Just the sound of rain again, like it had circled back to mark time. She asked if I ever felt guilty. Sometimes, I said. But not in the way people might think. I feel guilty for waiting this long to feel alive again. She didn't respond. Just looked at me, eyes soft. Then she reached for my hand and I didn't pull away. That night, she didn't leave. By the next week, Alice was part of the cafe. Not officially. There was no hiring form, no staff meeting. But she had a rhythm, sweeping in before noon, setting out the napkins, helping refill the syrups, talking to the regulars like she'd always known them. People asked how long we'd been open together. I stopped correcting them. We had a good thing going, unspoken. Not loud, not messy. We laughed more. We shared old records in the mornings, took turns choosing the soundtrack for the day. Her pics were always sad and beautiful. Mine were upbeat and clumsy. She teased me for it. I liked when she did that. But there was something under it all, a question neither of us asked. What happens next? One night, we closed early. I turned the sign around, dimmed the lights. We made dinner upstairs, pasta and cheap wine, and ate on the floor like college kids. She asked me if I missed her. She didn't say who. But I knew. Sometimes I admit it. But I think I missed the idea of her more than the person. Alice nodded. She poured another glass. Then quietly, "Do you think you're really ready for this?" For me. I didn't answer right away. I stood, went to the window, looked out over the street. People were rushing home, umbrellas bobbing, headlights flashing across the sidewalk. "I don't know if anyone's ever really ready," I said. "But I know I want to try." She came up behind me, arms slipping around my waist. Her head rested between my shoulder blades. We stayed like that a while. Later that night, she pulled out her camera again. Set it on the table. "Let's take one together," she said. We sat side by side on the couch, the camera on a timer. The flash blinked once, then again. A soft click. The photo came out slightly off-center, our heads leaning together, eyes tired but steady. No performance. Just truth. She taped it next to the black and white one behind the counter. Now, when customers come in, they look at those two photos. They always ask, "Is that you too?" And every time I say the same thing. Yes. That's the day everything changed. Summer started creeping in slowly, melting the last of the gray from the sidewalks. Business picked up. The cafe buzzed again with people and chatter, clinking cups, and that constant low hum of life happening. But inside, for me, something was quieter. Alice and I found a rhythm. Mornings, she'd sleep in upstairs while I opened the cafe. Afternoons, she'd join me behind the counter, light on her feet, soft with her words. Evenings, we'd walk. No destination, no expectation. But one morning, she didn't come down. I brought her a coffee. Knocked. Waited. When I opened the door, she was sitting on the edge of the bed, her camera in her lap, face pale. "I got a call," she said. "My mom's sick. I need to go back to Michigan." It wasn't a question. It wasn't a discussion. It was a door swinging open. And the wind rushing in. I sat beside her. We didn't say much. I told her I'd cover her shift, that the regulars would miss her. She laughed quietly, but it didn't reach her eyes. She left 2 days later. No dramatic goodbye. No promises. Just a long hug at the train station and a whispered, "All right." I went back to the cafe. It felt empty in a new way. Not like before, when I was alone in a marriage, pretending not to notice, but hollow, like something had been built and suddenly removed. I started writing her letters. Every night. I told her about the customers, the way Maria missed her stories, how the rain came back for a week straight. I slipped the first letter into an envelope and mailed it. Days passed. Then a week. No reply. I wrote again. And again. Then, one morning, a letter arrived. Just her handwriting on the front. Inside, she'd drawn a picture of me behind the counter, wiping a cup. Her note just said, "Still with you. Still drawing." August came in hot and restless. The cafe's air conditioner fought a losing battle, but customers kept coming. Maybe they liked the sweat. Maybe they needed routine, just like I did. Either way, the place was never empty. But I felt empty. It's a strange thing to share your space with someone so completely, then have them vanish into a memory you keep trying to live in. Every corner of the cafe whispered her name. Her favorite mug still chipped. The stool she always sat on. The way she'd hum when no one was around. I kept writing. Every night. She didn't always write back, but when she did, it was enough. Little sketches of her mom's porch. Descriptions of the sky over the lake. A napkin tucked into one envelope with the words, "Do you still play guitar in the mornings?" I didn't. Not since she left. Then, nothing. No reply for 3 weeks. I kept writing anyway. One Sunday evening I stayed late to clean. The cafe was quiet, the kind of quiet that wraps around your chest. I was wiping the counter again, always, and I glanced up. And there she was. Hair pulled back. Bag over her shoulder. A new tired in her eyes. She crossed the room, stepped behind the counter, took the cloth from my hand. "You've been doing it wrong," she said. That's when I laughed. Not the polite kind. The real kind. She said she passed last week. I stayed to help my sister. But I couldn't stay away anymore. Not from this. That night I took out my guitar. She sat in the doorway just like before. And I played. We didn't talk much about her mom after that. Grief was something she wore quietly, like a coat buttoned up too tight. It showed in the way she moved slower, lingered longer by the window, let her coffee go cold more often. I didn't ask questions. I just stayed close. Made the lattes stronger. Let her be. Some things didn't go back to the way they were, and maybe they weren't supposed to. She didn't bring out her camera for weeks. The sketchbook stayed closed on the counter. But every now and then I'd catch her looking out the front window like she was tracing outlines in her head. Fall came in sudden. The leaves outside the cafe turned sharp gold and soft red. I pulled the sweaters out from the back room and hung them on hooks for the regulars to borrow. Alice laughed when she saw them. "Only you would turn a cafe into a coat closet," she said. "Only you would make it feel like home," I replied. Then one morning she turned to me in bed and said, "I want to stay. Really stay. No more running. No more waiting to leave." I didn't answer with words. I just pulled her close. A week later, she brought her camera back downstairs. She took a photo of the sunlight pouring through the cafe door. Another of me wiping the same counter I always did. Then she taped a new picture to the wall beside the others. The first photo she took of me, the one of us on the couch, and now this one. 3 moments. 3 pieces of time. None of them loud, but all of them true. People still asked questions. About us. About the cafe. About why she stayed. And I always said the same thing. She walked in one day and something changed. Not just in the cafe. In me. Because it wasn't about the rain, or the latte, or even the moment we touched hands by the train tracks. It was about what came after. The quiet mornings. The letters. The return. The kind of love that doesn't ask to be loud, just present. She didn't leave again. And I never wanted her to.